for you, Joanna, what was it like to calibrate the changes through time, and the growth of
I built these changes about my character.
Yeah.
It was very interesting, but the music helps me a lot because what Paweł said about Mazowsze, prototype of Mazurek, which exists in Poland.
Folk ensemble.
Folk ensemble. Because I didn't have ballet and dancing preparation, and I had to spend 5 months, 2 times during the week in a Polish folk ensemble, and it was great experience, especially for the first part of Zula, because there is plenty of young dancers, singers. They're strong, very emotional, and because I was there and spent a lot of time with them and had such a strong training with dancers, with choreographer, with partners, with such a huge ballet group, I was all the time happy. It means that when you dance all the time and when you are with 50, 60 dancers day by day, it's something. And I understood, okay, I will use this for Zula. It will be great because Zula is young, strong, emotional. It will be great to use this, and we shoot most of less chronologically. That's why I did this training. This is my own voice, but I had musician education. That's why about singing it was much easier than dancing, and we did this. Like we shoot. I did this part. And Paweł edited. That's why when I saw the frame, okay, Zula is like that at the beginning. Now I can start to think about another period of time. And it was pieces by pieces. And the most difficult thing was how to build the latest relationship between Victor and Zula, because Zula was so emotional and destructive. That's why this part of personality, I work more about how to build this psychological process between Victor and Zula. Because we shoot more or less chronologically, it helps me about this character, building this Zula and this relationship between them.
And was it? How should I put this? Was it fun or challenging for her to be so volatile, mercurial? She goes from really highs to
and down, yeah.
And down.
Yeah. It was difficult for me to play this. Of course, I built this character, but at the same time, we were on the set and we shoot 2 scenes during the day. And because everything was so proper, and it was the black and white frame, and Paweł is such a strong, and all details that are very important. But how actors we had to be very free, very spontaneous. That's why I knew what I have to play, but at the same time I had to be very open what our director wants, and we were all the time concentrated about how to play. We repeated 24 times one scene. That's why you have to be fresh, but at the same time very concentrated, and you have to know how to play during the dancing and singing at the same time. That's why it was long, difficult, but great process for me.
She alludes to your technicality, and I want to discuss that. I love the fact that when the film opens, it's handheld camera. When later on the camera sets in, when Zula appears, the camera seems more excited, and there's a lot of action because Zula is around and is energized. Then we go to
animate very well, Zula.
And then you go to wide lenses when they're falling in love. When you go to Paris, it becomes more narrow. Can you tell us about your visual choices, which are incredible?
Well, it's always in response to the moment. I mean, in the story and to the atmosphere and the situation. So, in Poland, in these wide spaces, we used wide angles, and the film starts in a kind of semi-documentary way. So there's a bit of handheld so for the story to kind of sneak up on you rather than, we're in a movie now, it kind of sneaks up on you. Then of course Zula has this kind of great body language, of body movement. She keeps kind of fidgeting and moving this way, that way, jumping off things and changing directions. So that was quite fun to invent choreography for that, together with Joanna's movement. In Paris, we try to make Paris as airless, because people say, oh, Paris, so happy, this is where the relationship should blossom and wonderful. Of course, it doesn't work like that in exile. But also their existence in this kind of slightly suffocating salon life, it helped to use longer lenses, to take the air out of the room a little and to kind of isolate them against the background, so that longer lenses, more out of focusness in the background. But these were just kind of intuitive decisions that just made sense with the given scene situation. There wasn't the kind of ideological concept at the beginning. It was more like, what works here? How are we true to how do we enhance everything through camera and through light?
And why, on that same note, why is it that Paris, which I love, the fact that Paris becomes darker, the blacks become blacker in Paris?
Well, also, it was Paris of the 50s, of austerity still, It wasn't such a brightly lit city. That's another reason why it was so subdued. And we wanted to get away from the kind of very cliched image of Paris. I mean, it's still clearly Paris, and you have to communicate simply, a little bit cliched, that it is Paris. But the trick was to reduce light, all of the few locations we used, we only had 4 days in Paris to shoot the exteriors. It was too expensive to spend more time, but we actually made sure that the lighting would be like the lighting in the 50s, and moody, underlit rather than overlit. Even on the Seine, when we did that kind of romantic trip on the Seine, we waited for all the lights to be extinguished, and we knew that Notre Dame switches off its lights at 1 o'clock in the morning, so we shot it, after 1, and just kept it right on the edge of the permissible cinematography-wise. And so that was the idea, to kind of make Paris mysterious, not jolly and overlit, not the city of lights, but a kind of slightly depressing city of austerity with a bit of glamour, coming through, especially in the nightclub and in a cafe. And by the way, the cafe and the nightclub and all the interiors in Paris were shot in Łódź in Poland.
Yes, we built all Paris.